Well, we're starting with two stories from Texas today, and nothing really says the Christmas spirit like Texas sending buses of migrants to deathly cold temperatures at Kamala Harris's house. And that's exactly what took place. And yet, Texas has real problems to deal with, specifically the fact that they have another power emergency. Yeah, this is not a show from last year. Texas having another power emergency for more or less the exact same reasons that they have in the past. We're going to get to that, though. Let's start with the migrant story. New York Times reporting buses of migrants arrive at Kamala Harris's home on Christmas Eve. About 130 migrants from Texas were bused to the vice president's home on one of the coldest Christmas Eves on record in the nation's capital. This is a good article by Stephanie Lai that explains what took place. Over 100 migrants arrived near Kamala Harris's home Saturday evening, one of the chilliest Christmas Eves on record. Volunteers anticipated 3 buses with about 130 migrants to arrive in New York on Christmas Day. The buses were rerouted to the Washington area because of road closures and frigid conditions. Migrants arrived in Washington after a 36-hour journey, some with little more than a t-shirt or a light blanket. The mutual aid group helped coordinate travel and housing for them, provided food, coats, shoes, other warm articles. Temperatures plunged below 20 degrees. The mutual aid group said the buses were sent by the Texas Division of Emergency Management following the directive of Governor Greg Abbott's office. I don't have to tell you whether he's a Democrat or a Republican. You know from what he did. Quote, "They've been doing this for a few months now. It's all for the spectacle. The cruelty is the point. It's awful to use people in this manner for political reasons." We have video. And as you will see here, folks arriving, as you see, some are wearing shorts, quite literally shorts. The temperatures got below 20 degrees, buses being unloaded, and this is a political stunt. It is farcical. It is disgusting. It's also dangerous. It puts people in danger because of the temperatures. We have another video here as well. You see the clock, 10 p.m. there. Buses arriving. People have been handed blankets. At least some of them have. But you do see folks very much underdressed. And it got very, very cold in the Northeast on Christmas Eve. The White House is assailing Texas Governor Abbott, per a report from Reuters, writing, "The White House on Monday accused Texas Governor Greg Abbott of endangering lives after busloads of migrants from the southwest border in Texas were dropped near Vice President Kamala Harris's home in D.C. The Republican Abbott has not acknowledged the drop, and his office has not claimed responsibility." Yeah. So what do we say? These are people who are prioritizing their own agendas over the well-being and safety of others. And it's nothing short of disgusting and absurd. People's lives are being put at risk, people woefully unprepared for the temperatures that slammed the Northeast over the holiday weekend, and they're being used as political pawns. So, number one, we should recognize that these are human beings. They are looking for safety. They're looking for a better life for themselves and their families. They don't come to the United States willy-nilly. Remember, many of them are leaving families and the only homes that they have known to take a risk and to try to make a living. Now, remember, they are both lazy and taking our jobs. So wait, they're lazily taking all of our jobs by working. All of those stories are completely pathetic and inconsistent. We know that. But these are people who are making life-altering decisions to try to better their circumstances. And there are folks like Texas Republicans more than, it's not even willing, eager to exploit them. Secondly, when governors do this, Abbott, DeSantis, etc., not only does it fly in the face of basic human compassion and decency, it often actually is misstating or misunderstanding the legal status of many of these folks. I don't yet know the legal status of these 130 individuals. Oftentimes the term migrant is used, and then it's often replaced with illegal immigrant. But in a prior busing stunt, where migrants were bused to the north, they were folks who were actually, they requested asylum, and their cases were being processed, and they were not actually here what we would define as illegally per the law, per asylum law. And so understand that very often it's not even accurately making the very deranged and inhuman point that they are trying to make. Last thing, Americans are actually in agreement on many aspects of the immigration debate, particularly DACA. If you were 6 when you were brought here by your undocumented immigrant parents, and from age 6 to 20, you grew up in the United States, went to school in the United States, etc., it would be insanely cruel and illogical to send that individual who was 6 when they came here and is now 20 back to, quote, their country, which isn't even really their country anymore. And in fact, I came to the US legally when I was 5, and legally or illegally, my upbringing, my schooling, my acculturation was in the United States. Had I been brought here by my parents illegally at age 5, to say when I was 20 in the middle of college, you've got to go back to Argentina, would be extraordinarily inhumane. And that is something that most Americans agree with. And yet we are unable to make progress on that. We've talked about why. There are political factions at play, and on and on and on. Lastly, really lastly, these busing stunts will probably have unintended consequences. And what I mean by that is you send migrants to states, and sometimes they're not even told until they arrive that this is happening. So it puts an additional strain on local resources, and it arguably exacerbates difficult situations that the migrants find themselves in. Okay? So you're irresponsibly and short-sightedly, to get headlines, doing something which will actually make the problem worse that you're trying to solve, because if the migrants were able to stay or go to a place that was actually prepared and resourced to receive them, it would have a dramatically lower impact on those communities. Nobody's saying there is no impact when people arrive in a community. But by deliberately choosing to willy-nilly at 10 p.m. bus folks to a place that isn't even expecting them, you're actually just making the problem worse. So this is what Texas spent Christmas doing. And meanwhile, look at what else is going on.